An elderly woman walked into a luxurious restaurant, expecting a peaceful meal. But the waiter took one look at her and dismissed her, treating her as if she didn't matter. What he didn't know, she was the mother of Hollywood superstar Keanu Reeves. And the moment Keanu walked in, the entire restaurant fell silent. If you like this story, please don't forget like, subscribe and share. It was a chilly evening in Los Angeles when Patricia Taylor, a refined and elegant older woman, decided to dine at an upscale restaurant. The establishment was known for its exclusive clientele, luxurious ambience, and high-end cuisine. As a former costume designer in the entertainment industry, Patricia had been around celebrities for decades. However, she never flaunted her connections or sought special treatment. She simply enjoyed fine dining and a quiet evening out. Dressed in a classic yet understated outfit, she walked into the restaurant alone, her silver hair neatly styled, exuding a quiet grace. As she stepped inside, the maitre d' barely glanced at her before directing her toward a corner table, away from the main dining area where the wealthier, more prominent guests were seated. Though slightly puzzled, Patricia didn't complain. She had never been one to demand attention. She settled into her seat and picked up the menu. As she scanned through the options, a young waiter approached. His name tag read Jake, and he looked no older than 25. His posture was casual, almost dismissive, and he barely made eye contact as he spoke. "What do you want to order?" he asked, his tone lacking warmth or professionalism. Patricia smiled politely. "I'd like a glass of red wine and a recommendation for dinner." "What would you suggest?" Jake sighed, barely concealing his impatience. "Look, we've got steaks, seafood, pasta, typical stuff. Just pick something." Surprised by his rudeness, Patricia maintained her composure. "I see. In that case, I'll have the filet mignon, medium rare, with a side of roasted vegetables." Jake scribbled it down hastily. "Anything else?" "No, that will be all, thank you," Patricia replied. Without another word, Jake turned and walked away, shaking his head as if annoyed by her presence. Patricia sighed inwardly but let it go. She had dealt with difficult people before and saw no need to make a scene. As Patricia waited for her meal, she observed the restaurant's atmosphere. The well-dressed clientele, the soft music playing in the background, and the candlelit tables all exuded luxury. However, it was evident that the restaurant prioritized its wealthiest patrons. She noticed Jake tending to a nearby table where a young couple, dripping in designer wear, laughed and chatted animatedly. His demeanor was entirely different, attentive, friendly, and eager to please. When her wine finally arrived, Jake placed the glass down with little care, spilling a few drops onto the pristine white tablecloth. He didn't apologize or wipe it up. Patricia calmly picked up a napkin and dabbed at the stain. She wasn't a confrontational person, but the disrespect was becoming evident. Minutes later, her filet mignon was placed in front of her with the same lack of regard. She glanced at the dish and noticed immediately that it was overcooked. Instead of the medium rare she had requested, the steak was well done. Politely, she caught Jake's attention as he passed by. "Excuse me, I believe my steak is overcooked. Would it be possible to have it replaced?" Jake let out an exaggerated sigh, rolling his eyes. "Seriously? It's just a steak. It's fine." Patricia remained calm. "I understand mistakes happen, but I did request medium rare." Jake crossed his arms. "Listen, lady, this isn't some fast food joint where you can just send things back for fun. Do you know how busy we are? If you don't like it, maybe this place isn't for you." A few diners at nearby tables turned to look, sensing the tension. Patricia, still composed, simply said, "I see. Thank you for your time." She decided to let it go and eat what she could. However, the treatment she had received was unacceptable. If there was one thing she believed in, it was respect, regardless of someone's age, status, or appearance. Just as Patricia finished her meal, the restaurant door swung open, and a man in a casual yet stylish outfit stepped in. His tall frame, kind eyes, and unmistakable presence made heads turn. It was Keanu Reeves. Keanu had been in town and decided to check in on his mother. He knew she enjoyed dining out alone and had planned to surprise her. However, as he looked around, his smile faded when he spotted her sitting alone in the corner, her expression unreadable. He approached her table, and when Patricia looked up, her eyes lit up. "Keanu, dear," she said warmly. The moment Jake saw Keanu Reeves embracing Patricia, his face went pale. Whispers spread quickly among the staff and customers. People began murmuring, wondering what the famous actor was doing with the woman Jake had so rudely dismissed. "Mom, how was dinner?" Keanu asked, pulling out a chair to sit with her. Patricia hesitated. The food was fine, but the service left much to be desired. Keanu's easygoing nature shifted into something more serious. "What happened?" Patricia, never one to cause trouble, simply said, "Let's just say not everyone values kindness." Keanu glanced up, his gaze locking onto Jake, who suddenly found himself sweating. The once arrogant waiter now looked visibly uncomfortable. Realizing he had just insulted Keanu Reeves' mother, Jake panicked. He quickly approached the table, his previous smugness replaced with nervousness. Mr. Reeves. I didn't realize she was your mother," Jake stammered. Keanu leaned back in his chair, his expression unreadable. "So, if she wasn't my mother, would that make your behavior acceptable?" Jake opened his mouth but couldn't find an answer. The entire restaurant was watching. Patricia, ever the gracious woman, spoke gently. "Respect should not depend on someone's status. It should be given freely." Keanu nodded. "She's right. Everyone deserves kindness." Jake lowered his gaze. I'm sorry." Keanu turned to the manager, who had been standing nearby, silent. "I hope you teach your staff the importance of good service, not just for celebrities, but for everyone." The manager nodded furiously. "Absolutely, sir. We deeply apologize." Jake learned a hard lesson that day. He realized that true success in the service industry, or in life, came from treating everyone with respect, not just the rich and famous. As for Patricia, she finished her evening with Keanu by her side, enjoying their time together. She had always taught her son humility, kindness, and respect. That night, the lesson was passed on to someone else. And Keanu? He left the restaurant with his mother, proud as ever of the woman who had taught him the true meaning of decency. After Keanu and Patricia left the restaurant, the atmosphere remained tense. The restaurant staff, especially Jake, felt the weight of what had just happened. The whispers among customers hadn't stopped, and the manager was visibly flustered. Jake retreated to the back of the restaurant, running a hand through his hair. His heart was still racing. He had been rude to plenty of customers before, dismissing them based on their appearance or how much they tipped. But this time, he had crossed a line without realizing it. A fellow waiter, Maria, approached him. She had witnessed the entire ordeal. "You really messed up, Jake," she said, shaking her head. "Why do you treat people like that?" Jake scoffed, though his voice lacked confidence. "I don't know. It's just, some people don't seem important, you know." Maria's eyes narrowed. "And who are you to decide that?" That woman was Keanu Reeves' mother, but even if she wasn't, she deserved respect. Jake exhaled sharply. He had spent years assuming that the wealthier, more glamorous customers were the only ones worth impressing. But now, he realized how flawed that thinking was. "Maybe I should apologize," he muttered. Maria crossed her arms. "You already did. But the real question is, will you change?" Her words stuck with him. Later that night, Keanu and Patricia sat in her cozy home, drinking tea. The incident at the restaurant was still fresh in their minds, though Patricia had long since let it go. "You didn't have to step in, you know," Patricia said gently. Keanu smiled. "Of course I did. You taught me to stand up for what's right." Patricia reached for his hand. "And you did. But you also taught someone else a lesson today." Keanu thought about Jake's reaction. The waiter had been arrogant at first, but the look on his face when he realized his mistake, it was genuine remorse. Maybe, just maybe, he would take this experience to heart. "I hope he learns from it," Keanu said. "People should be kind because it's the right thing to do, not because of who someone is." Patricia nodded. "That's exactly right." The next day, Jake walked into the restaurant feeling uneasy. He had barely slept, replaying the incident over and over in his mind. He knew he had been in the wrong, and now he had to face the consequences. As soon as he stepped inside, the manager called him over. "We need to talk," the manager said sternly. Jake braced himself for the worst. Was he about to be fired? He wouldn't be surprised. "You embarrassed this restaurant," the manager continued. "And yourself." Jake swallowed hard. "I know. I messed up." The manager sighed. "Here's the thing, everyone makes mistakes. But how you move forward matters. If you want to keep your job, you need to prove you've learned something from this." Jake nodded earnestly. "I will. I promise." And for the first time in a long time, he truly meant it. Over the next few weeks, Jake made a genuine effort to change. He treated every customer with the same level of respect, regardless of how they dressed or who they were. He listened when people spoke, apologized when necessary, and even started helping new employees adjust to the job. One evening, an older woman entered the restaurant alone. A few months ago, Jake might have ignored her, but now he approached her table with a warm smile. "Good evening, ma'am. Welcome to our restaurant. May I recommend one of our house specialties tonight?" The woman smiled, pleasantly surprised by his politeness. As Jake took her order, he felt something he hadn't before, pride. Not just in his work, but in knowing he was doing the right thing. Maria, who had been watching from a distance, smirked. "Look at you. Maybe there's hope for you after all." Jake chuckled. "Maybe there is." Months later, Keanu Reeves returned to the same restaurant, this time with a small group of friends. He didn't expect anyone to remember him, nor was he looking for special treatment. But when his waiter approached, he was met with a familiar face. Jake stood there, looking a little nervous but determined. "Mr. Reeves. I just wanted to say, I'm sorry again for how I treated your mother. And, thank you. Because of that night, I changed how I treat people." Keanu studied him for a moment before smiling. "That's good to hear. Change is never easy, but it's worth it." Jake nodded. "It really is." As the night went on, Keanu enjoyed his meal, noticing how different the atmosphere felt. The restaurant seemed warmer, more welcoming. And in the end, that was the greatest lesson of all: kindness had the power to change not just one person, but an entire place.